Hello guys, welcome to my channel. In this video we are going to learn how to write Spring Boot application using MySQL database. We are going to create one web application using Spring Boot where we will get end-to-end creating of employee, deleting an employee, editing and adding an employee. So this is we will create a good example where we can see all the layers of view layer, control layer as well as DAO layer, okay, which will interact with our database. So let's start. So we have to go for Spring Initializer, Spring IO, where we can create an initial background of a project. So we'll go for Java coding, okay, as a group ID, and this will be our Spring Boot MySQL, right? So our name will be this same, and let's not take this, okay, let's be Java coding as a package. Let's go for Java 8, okay. You can select any of the Java versions. I am going for Java 8, and by default the Spring initializer is pointing to 2.5.2. let it be, okay. So we need to add dependencies here, okay. Here we need to add JPA dependencies, which is provided by the Spring, okay, which will take care of all the queries, okay. And next we are going for web. This will create the web application for our application, okay. Then we need MySQL database, right? We need that. Then we need time as a template engine, which will work as a view layer, okay, which will integrate our Spring Boot and which will give the view, okay. Everything is fine, just you have to say generate and it will create one zip file. You can go into the folder, okay. So it got created, okay. Here I'm unzipping, here means extracting, okay. Once it gets extracted, let's go to our Eclipse. So here no projects are there, here as you can see. Now if you import it as a Maven project, you have to select here. If everything, it will be like this, okay. You have to select Maven, then existing Maven projects, click on next, browse. You can go for the location Spring Boot MySQL. You can click here. The POM gets checked, pom.xml. This is project object model. Sorry, this POM is nothing but project object model, okay. It's after this it will build your application, okay, with the dependencies which we have selected in Spring Initializer. All the dependencies will get injected here, okay. So as you can see here, whatever we have selected in the dependencies in initializer, so all that we have got, like JPA, template, web and MySQL connector, okay. So this is the base structure of a project which will be get generated from here, from start.spring.io, okay. So for any Spring Boot application, you can come here, you can generate your Spring Boot with what all requirement you need in the dependencies, okay. Now let's go to our project location. So here it will be created with the package and Spring Boot My application. This will be the main application where we are going to start, okay. This will be our main application where the Spring Boots get started when you run this class, okay. which has a main method which will run our Spring Boot application with this annotation. With this annotation, our main method class will gets converted into Spring Boot application with this simple annotation. Okay, so Spring Boot has given lot of annotations based where which will decrease configurations. Whatever we were doing in last before Spring Boot, lot of configurations were there, so these all things will get eliminated with this simple annotations. Okay. Okay, so here to remove this new class, we'll create employee as our entity class. Okay, later we can change it. For example, if I take this as my base package in the package, okay, if I want to create controller, okay, it's creating. Then now I want employee controller. Okay, the controller got created. Okay, now I want repo. Okay, so repo got created. Now I want we have controller, we have entity, we have a repo, we want service. Okay, okay, so in repo let's create employee repository as an interface. Okay, employee repository. Okay, here you can extend interface. I'll show you how. You can click on add, you can click on JPA repository. Okay, you can select OK. You can see here which we got employee repository extends JPA repository, and here this is our employee class. The ID will be long. Okay, Control Shift O if you press, it will get imported, this employee class. Done. Is it? Okay, so our employee repository got created and entity is also there, the controller class is there. Okay, and what we want is a service. Let's create the service. Okay, first we need to create an interface. Service for loose coupling. Next let's create some methods, then we can implement our employee service interface. Okay, so public, what we will create, we'll create find all employees as a first. Okay, which will be return type as a list of employee. Okay, and find all employees. Okay, so this will be our Control Shift O import. Okay, this will be our first service method where we are fetching all the employees from the DB. Okay, Now let's create one more method. The next method which we want is save employee. Okay, so saving employee doesn't require anything, void. Okay, save employee, which needs the method parameters as an employee. Okay, which will save the employee. Next, what we want is find employee by ID. Okay, we can create, we need to return employee, right? Then the method will be find employee by ID. So here the method parameter will be long ID. Okay, so we are defining what all operations we need in this employee project. Okay, now what we can go for is save employee, find employee, and delete employee. Okay, delete by ID, same thing you can copy paste here, which is void, doesn't returns anything. It's this one, delete employee by ID long. Now you have to create a class, implementation class. Okay, so the class will be employee service. Okay, IMPL. We have to add here, we'll add our interface, which is employee service. So which will implement this interface. Okay, so once you add that, you can see that all the interface methods got implemented here, the body they have given. Okay, so by default they will give this, you'll get it, or else you can do, this is one way of writing employee service class. One more method I will show you, just delete this. Okay, right click, new class, employee service IMPL. We are just creating the class. Okay, and implementing employee service. Now it will say here add unimplemented methods. Okay, so if you save it, the same thing what we have got earlier, right? The same thing which we got now, all the unimplemented methods it is asking us to implement, and it has implemented with a default implementation, like just return null and all, right? So now what we have to do is, let's start with our implementation class. Okay, now what we want to do is, we need to make this class to know that Spring Boot, that this is the class which is a service class. Okay, to handle it, control space. So this class will be treated as a service class, and whatever dependencies it needs, the Spring is ready to give now. Okay, what we want our repository, employee repository. We want employee repository. Okay, say it employee repository only. Okay, at the rate you have to say auto add. Now the Spring will take care of the dependencies of this employee repository. So here in our interface, employee repository, whichever we have created, which is extending JPA repository, which is a Spring JPA repository, right? So if you are extending, your interface is extending JPA repository, then all the JPA implementation whichever the Spring is supporting, which will be given to this employee repository, okay, at runtime. So your employee repository is now capable of all the operations which is supported by JPA repository. For example, if you click on JPA repository, you can see all the methods you have, like find all by ID, save, delete all in a batch. All the methods you will get, all the method supports you will get in your employee repository on the basis of your employee entity. So here let's go for our employee service. Okay, now let's go for the implementation class. Let's implement it. Okay, we have the repository now. Let's implement for this. Let's delete this auto generated comments. Okay, let's go with employee repository dot find all. Okay, if you say this, you will get the list of employee. Okay, so you'll get the list of employees which you can return to the caller, whoever calls it. Okay, let's format it. Next, we're going for the save employee. Let's take this repository. Okay, let's delete this comment. Okay, repository dot save entity. You can see here save entity will be our employee E, our method parameter. We are saving it. Right now we need to implement find employee by ID, right? Just delete this comment and we can say employee repository dot find by ID. You can take this, right? You can take the ID of our method parameter. Now the return type will be employee, right? And it is giving some error because it is actually returning optional employee. So for that, what we have to do is we have to say get. See here in get, it is returning the employee, right? So we have to use get, right? Now we can return this, can return the employee which we will get from the repository. Now next we'll go for delete an employee. Delete by ID. Delete by ID. You can take that. You can take that ID. That's it. It will delete from the DB, right? Now we have completed our service implementation part and the DAO part. DAO is nothing but the employee repository, which we will get a ready-made DAO from JPA repository. Okay, now let's concentrate on the controller. So before that, we'll go for our employee entity class. Let's see, as we can see that we don't have anything, right? So if we want to make this employee, okay, as an object which will bind to our tables, we need to make it entity. So for that we need to use annotation called entity, which is provided by persistence. This JPA annotation which will bind to our database table, right? So now what we want, let's make it variables whatever we want from the employee. Okay, let's see. We'll go for ID. Okay, and next we'll go for string employee name. Okay, employee name. Now what we have, let's go for ID, employee name, department and salary. Department and salary. Okay, so let's go with 4 variables. Suppose, like, assuming that employee is having department and his name and his salary with the ID we are mentioning it. Okay, now we have some annotation where we have to use to bind our Java object to database table. So that is @ID Java X persistence, Java X persistence annotation, then @generated value. Okay, in that strategy will be generated type dot identity. Okay, so this will make our ID auto incrementable while we are adding multiple objects. Okay, so it will be auto incrementable in the database. Like, for example, in database we have a ID column where no need to mention our ID. Okay, it will automatically increment with 1 as an initializer number. Okay, with 1 it will increment 2, 3, as on how many objects you are going to save, it will get created. That's the beauty of this just annotation. Okay, now no need to mention anything on this. If you want, you can mention the column name. If you want to create different names from the table, you want to bind it, so you can create a custom name, you can bind to the table of whatever you have created. Now let's sorry guys. Now let's create getters and setters. You can go in source, generate getters and setters, select all, generate. Okay, now one minute guys. Yeah, after generating getter setters, let's go for the controller. So here we have to create an annotation. We have to use the annotation, controller. We have to make our class controller, right? So we have to use this annotation of Spring Boot provided. The next thing what we have to do is we need to write the methods. Public, let's make an object like view homepage, right? view home page, model. We have to make this request mapping or get mapping. Sorry guys, get mapping with with slash. So any request, any first request will be coming to this. Okay, we need to import this model from Spring. Okay, now you have to return. Okay, so here what we have to do is we have to return something, right? Let's make it empty first. Okay, so here whenever we click on the first home page, what we want is we want all the employees which we have currently. Okay, so this is the operation what we want, this is our requirement. Okay, for that we need to fetch, right? So we need to use the service layer. So for that we need to have a dependency of employee service. Okay, it is not giving any suggestions for employee service. We can write, or else just write emp. Okay, save it. Now you click on this. Now you will get this employee service suggestion. Now at the rate we need to say auto void to the Spring. It will only give us this employee service object. So we can use this. So basically what the Spring does is whenever we write auto void, it will go to this. It will check any implementation classes is there or not. It will go here, someone has implemented and that class got annotated with service. It will check that okay, this class is handled with a Spring by a service. Let's get dependency injection to this. Okay, so it will get auto void and give the dependency of employee service implementation class to this. Okay, once we get this, okay, we have not imported, that's why we are getting this error. Let's import. Okay, now no error. Let's see employee service. What we have to do is find all employees, right? So here what we will get, the list of employees. Okay, Control Shift O, finish. It will import this employee class and the list. Employee and the list got imported. Okay, now what we have to do is we have to say model dot add attribute, last one we'll say list emp. Okay, take this list, we'll give that value as an attribute value. Okay, now we have to return the page. So now see here, we have to return a page, right? So that page will be the home page. We'll go for home. Now we need the JSPs, right, or the HTMLs. We have created all the layer, like we have created the controller, we have created the service, we have created the repository, the dev layer, and only one layer which we have we got missing is the view layer, right? So the view layer which resides inside the templates. So already I have created some HTMLs. Okay, which I will show you. So here, if you go here, sorry, so here if you go here, we have two HTMLs I have already created. Let's import that in templates folder. Okay, we have now home.html, new emp.html. let's see what I have created inside this home.html. The simple, I have taken this HTML spacing, okay, XML name spacing, and have linked this CSS, JavaScript, and have set that name as Spring Boot Cred System Employee Registration, and I have created h3 of add new employee, and I am linking to /new employee. This we will see in the later stages. Okay, you can see the table div got created, and employee ID, employee name, department, salary, edit and delete, these are the columns which we have created, and the values will come from the list. Okay, so employee list, which I have created in employee controller. Okay, here I am saying list emp. Instead of list emp, I have to say employee, list employee. Okay, list employee, sorry, employee list I have to say, sorry, employee list. Okay, now I've created home page, which will be returning to this home.html. as you can see, we have added one dependencies, right, theme leaf. This will take care of, which is Spring Boot provided theme leaf only. So Spring Boot will take care of all our redirections to our HTMLs, right? So if you write home, internally it will take care to search in templates which JSP or which HTML is there on home name, and which will render the response. That's it. So this is the first page. Okay, and for example, if we don't have in suppose say that this is our first request and we have not at all created any employee objects, and it will come to here and it will fetch this. Definitely it is going to be empty list, right? So nothing will be there. So instead of that, let's say, suppose if we have a collection utils dot is empty. Okay, if our collection is empty, let's create one collection. Okay, so let's refer arrays dot as list. Okay, let's create employee object, and just create that employee list, and this list gets added into our attribute, and will render to our home page. That's it. Okay, now let's start this application. Let's see. And yeah, we forgot to add this application.properties. This is main, this is heart for Spring Boot application. This is main, so we need to add this properties, right? Just go to the Chrome, say Spring properties to create auto create tables. It will give this properties which we can use. Okay, save it. So basically what it is doing is it has all the basic configurations. Okay, the URL, username, password, driver, hibernate dialect, DDL, auto. This configuration, what it says, spring.jpa.hibernate.dtl auto create. If for example you have created a database but you have not created any tables, it will automatically create for you. Okay, no need to worry for that. Let's change the database name. Okay, I've created tutorial database. Let's use the database. Okay, which doesn't have anything. This is an empty database. If you want to look at this, you can see here. I will connect to MySQL. Okay, okay, okay. So tutorial database is there. Okay, show tables. If you say, oh, a table is already there. Okay, let's say drop table employee. Okay, now show tables, nothing is there, right? So this is an empty database of tutorials database which we are using here. Okay, so it will create for us that employee table with this configuration. Okay, now the properties is there, and I forgot to mention the password which I have given, the root123, and rest remains same. Only have to change the database name and I have to give my username, password. That's it, simple. And server.port we have to mention, or else default port will be created. Let's say 8090 server.port. Okay, now let's build application. Okay, I'm building it now. Spring Boot application. Okay, so for example, like if you don't know how to create a maven build, okay, just go to maven build. Initially you will get like this. You have to write clean install. Okay, and you can skip this, apply, skip the test, not required, we don't have any test, apply, run, which will build our application. Okay, build got success. Now let's start our application. Java application, run as. Okay, our application got started in 8090, right, whichever we have given in application.properties. Now let's close this. Okay, this is also not required now. Localhost 8090. If if you say, let's see what we will get. Yeah, we got whatever we have created in that HTML. Okay, since we don't have any employees, this is our first request to our application, that's why we don't have anything. So I have created a link for add new employee, but in our code we don't have add employee, right, in our controller. So let's create that. Okay, so let's stop our application. Let's create we need to create one more method let's say string add employee. Okay, add employee, we need model attribute employee E. Okay, so this is the page. Actually we want a page, right, initially to add an employee. This is like add an employee, like new emp, let's create get mapping new emp, not required. Okay, just it has to create a blank page. Okay, it will create, and we are going to add model and view inside that we will mention new emp as a page. Okay, add object will be this. Okay, actually add employee is there, right? This is not string, this is model and view. We are returning this model. Okay, now let's go to our page. It's a template new emp. So this page will get open, and which has the employee, so which will look for this employee and which will render the response of employee name, department, salary and all, ID and all. Okay, so for that we need to add object with attribute name as well. Sorry, not this dollar, it's employee E. Okay, now we will get the blank page. So let's start and see whether it is working or not. Okay, let's click directly. You can click this to run the application, no need to go here and right click run as Java application is not required. Directly we have this in Eclipse. Let's see, it is getting started. Yeah, it's got started. Okay, let's refresh it. Okay, we'll get the page. When we click add new employee, yeah, we got the page. Okay, we have created an employee object, empty object. Okay, we have added it and we have rendered this employee. Now we have to save this. Okay, now what we have to do, we have to write So let's stop the server. Okay, stop the server. Let's write public, let's say string only. Let's see, later we can change it. Save employee, we can say save y employee. Here we need model attribute. Okay, we need employee. Okay, so now we need to use this employee service dot save employee e, right? So after saving employee, okay, so what happens is basically we have to add here all the values. Okay, and when we click on save, it will come to here in save employee. Here we are hitting our service, and service will hit to the repository. From repository our employee gets saved in the database. So all these things happens from here. Okay, after saving this employee, what we need here, we need to redirect to the home page, right? For that we need to write return. Okay, we need to redirect colon slash. Okay, semicolon, we need to end the statement. Here slash, we can say new page. Okay, or some JSP. We can redirect to any page. Here I am redirecting to the home page. Here the home page will get redirected. It will come to here and it will fetch all the employees and it will redirect to the home page. So this is what happens from here. Okay, let's see. From here we have taken the employee. Okay, we will save here and we will redirect. Let's see, let's start our application. Okay, our Spring Boot application got started in 11 seconds. Let's go here. Okay, let's go to the first page, add new employee. Let's say my name, and let's say department is electrical. Let's say 10,000, and we have to say, oh, we got an error. Let's see what is an error. Not got anything here, but we got an error. So yeah, the error is, see what happened is, as you can see, have not mapped this method of any mapping, right? That's why this error is there. So for that, let's stop this. I have to map. What mapping I have to give? For that I have to go to this HTML. What it does is, after submit, we need this mapping, right? Don't worry guys, these two HTMLs I will give the link for you. Okay, or I will upload the entire project for your reference. It will be helpful for you also. Let's say this is post mapping with this value, right? So now if you start this application, you can see yeah, Spring Boot application got started. Go to the browser, go to our main page, add new employee, click on that. Let's take my name and save. Yeah, it got saved. Okay, so whatever values I have given, it got saved. Now I have the main page. Okay, I have a new employee add page. I have to implement this edit and delete page, only these two. Okay, for that let's go to the controller, let's stop this application Spring Boot. Let's write public, let's say string, later we can do changes, and get employee by ID. Okay, and here I will get, yeah, let's create this method first. Okay, first map it. Earlier we did the mistake of not mapping it, that's why we got error, white label error. We'll go for get mapping. Okay, and inside this we have to say we need to go for the JSP page, home.html. From here it will get edited. So here basically this href, it will take this. Okay, so this plus employee ID, here we will get employee ID. So let's go to controller, let's create that with this braces and ID. This will be the path variable for here, path variable. Okay, name will be ID. Okay, here I will write int ID, and have to return something, right? So let's return time being empty string. Let's implement inside the logic. Okay, here our business logic will go here, take this employee service. Okay, dot get find employee by ID. We have to pass this ID and semicolon, we'll get the employee. Okay, we got this employee. Now what we have to do is we have to take this employee and send it to new EMP, right? Okay, for that what we have to do is we have to add that, we have to take this, we have to add this employee. Okay, and we have to return this model. And our return type will be model and view. Okay, now we have implemented edit. Let's see edit is working or not. See guys, while seeing this video you can follow me. Okay, you will also get hands-on experience instead of taking the ready-made project and just running that project. You won't understand anything. So my suggestion is just follow the writing the code, and you will see what all errors you will get. That helps to build a good experience for you on the coding, right? So our application got started. Let's go here. Okay, add employee. Okay, let's edit it. Oh, we got error. Let's see what error. Okay, errors are good. We will try to learn a lot from this. Okay, integer we want long. Okay, employee entity expected ID wrong type. Okay, let's see what we have. Employee by ID, we have a long. Okay, so we want long. Okay, let's see now. See guys, you will learn a lot by these errors, these trial and errors, which will help you build a good experience. So my suggestion, you all try to see these errors and rectify it. Let's select CS. Okay, yeah, now we have to edit it. Again error. This time what we have, okay, provided ID of wrong type, employee expected integer got long. Okay, is that so? The problem here is actually when we are getting the employee. Okay, so here the ID is int. As you can see in employee repository, we have said the ID is long, so that's the thing, it is not able to fetch employee by ID. Now we will get the errors for this getters and setters, so just we have to remove it and source generate getter setters for ID, generate, done. So now we have the ID. Now let's stop the server and start it again and see whether the error is still persist. Now something got the error. What is this? It's clear. Oh, this is the issue. What we have made is, we have made the variable name as long. Instead we need to make long as a data type and id. Now again we need to change the getter setters. So guys, as you can see, we have to be a lot more patient in changing any variables. Okay, so in hurry if we do any code changes, right, we will face lot of troubles, as you are seeing now. So that's the reason we need to be a little more careful while we are changing it, and we need to have some patience. Okay, now you can see that Tomcat started at 8090. Let's go here and click to our base application, add employee. Okay, CS, let's save it, let's edit it. Yeah, now we are getting the value. Let's change it to 22,000. okay, yeah, it is reflecting here. Now we need to implement the delete method. Only delete is pending, right? So if we go to controller here, to write implementation for delete employee by ID, and we need path variable name as ID, name will be ID. Okay, now we have to write the get mapping at the rate should be delete, not get. Or you can say get mapping only, not an issue. It will internally work with this. Okay, no need to mention delete, as we are not handling with as we are not requesting from Postman, right? So no issues. Here we need to say delete by ID. We will get this ID here. We need to call the service saying that delete employee by ID we are passing it, and we need to redirect, and we have not returned the return type will be string, and after deleting we need to redirect to home page, right? That's it. So these things will work. Okay, now let's stop this, let's run it again and see whether the delete is working or not. Okay, add an employee. We'll go for some first name Satish, department maths, and his salary is 100, let's say. Okay, Satish was set. One more employee called Mahesh, his department is science and his salary is 200, let's say. Okay, now we need to delete Satish. Let's delete it. Yeah, it is getting deleted. If we delete Mahesh, it is got deleted. Done. Now, so we have created a Spring Boot application where we can edit it, change it to 100. Okay, edit it, we can change it to any department. Okay, any department, any salary, any name. Okay, and also you can delete it and you can add it. You can add any number of employees, you can change employee name, department salary, and you can delete it. So all the CRUD operations we can do using the Spring Boot application. Okay, so now what we have done is we have created a Spring Boot application for CRUD operations, for rendering the home page. Okay, adding an employee, saving an employee, editing an employee, and deleting an employee. So all these CRUD operations in very minimal code. Only we have one class, one repository, one entity class, one controller. Not much lines of code. As you can see, we have created such a good application where we can manage the employee details. That's it for now, guys. We'll come up with a new video where I'm going to explain some other technology and some more examples. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned this channel for more updates. Thank you.